Okay guys, I got something new here to show you today. This is kind of a Taranis Pro alternative, Taranis Plus alternative. I have my Taranis here sitting to kind of show you the difference between these two radios. This is a radio called Radiolink. It's the AT9S. There's a previous version of this radio called the AT9 that came out last year in 2015. Pretty nice radio and a cheaper alternative than something like the Taranis or Spektrum radios. Very, very easy to use and link up with the receiver. It does come with the receiver in the box as well. The other things that come along with it are a little tiny DVD that shows you all the different manuals for all the different Radiolink transmitters. They are PDF format, and it also comes with a AA battery case in case you want to use AA's. You can also use a 3S battery on here as well, because it does have a little JST that plugs in. Nicest thing about this is that sometimes you get the polarity mixed around, and it has an automatic protection in the radio that will protect it from shorting out your radio. So you're not going to fry your radio if you plug this in backwards, which is really nice. But it is labeled on the board positive and negative, so make sure you pay attention when you plug this in. Also in the box you have a radio transmitter strap that plugs in right here in the middle. You put that around your neck to make it a little more comfortable when you're flying. And it comes with an extra gimbal arm and an extra spring in here as well, just in case one of your gimbals snap. Sometimes the springs in there will snap. In years previous using radios, I've had that issue, so that's pretty nice that they include that. Now, price point on the radio is pretty nice. It's around $140 on our friends over at Gearbest website. The FrSky compatible radio, this Taranis Plus that I got last year, it is around the $200 mark with one receiver, I believe, and it's compatible with FrSky receivers, and they're similar priced. These guys do make some other receivers, various different sizes and range. This one's boasting around 4,500 feet max range distance. And this is sort of the mid-size receiver that comes along with it. It's an R9DS. You can look those up on Gearbest website and see how much they are. I think they're around the $15 mark. So pretty cool receiver because it does have SBUS and PPM. So very, very compatible with pretty much every multi-rotor on the market these days. Now, another cool thing about this radio is that it does operate on a much lower current level than some of the other transmitters out there. This one's operating on 90 mA, which is going to give you around 12 hours operating time on this transmitter if you're using something like an 1800 milliamp. So that's an extremely long operating time. Other transmitters that I have operate in the 8 to 9 hour range. Now, another nice feature about the Radiolink AT9S is the response time. The response time between the receiver and the radio is around 3 milliseconds, and that's way faster than some of the other radios on the market. You're going to get around 20 milliseconds to be exact. So it is on a very, very high resolution gimbal response time for this radio. Okay, but before we go into the radio, let's talk about the switches and the features on this radio externally before we go inside. Now, it has a lot of switches on here. You have 10 channels to operate from, and the power button's in the very middle. You have an LED indicator switch up here that tells you you're good, and it will start blinking if you have a low voltage issue on your battery on the radio. So you have your mode button here, which lets you go into the interface and make changes. Over here you have a dial wheel and a push button in the center, so you can change back and forth there. Also, this large button over here, it says end on it, but this is essentially the back switch. So this will allow you to get back out of your menus and back to the main area. Now up top we have A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and H switches, and this start with this top one right here. This is a 3-position switch. This is a 2-position F, and H is going to be your momentary switch. G is another 3-position. D is a 2-position. C is a 3-position. B is 2, and A is 2. You also have pot switches here that can go back and forth and make dial adjustments. Your trim switches. On the very back of it, you have 2 levers on the back, very similar to the Taranis, but the way that this is set up, the Taranis has it on the side. And this one is kind of ergonomically designed because it's right where your index fingers are, and that's pretty nice. So I can go in here and I feel like I can change those pretty nicely on the back. They're right where my finger sits. So if you set that switch up on a gimbal, if you have a gimbal lever switch, you can do that for your camera adjustment. That's pretty nice. And on the very bottom we have the USB port for updating your firmware on your AT9S. And the last external feature we have on here is the trainer port, and you'll plug in your cable here and plug it into another transmitter to set up a student master pilot setup. You can make this one the master or the slave controller, either way, and you can have someone else fly and not worry about crashing. Now I'm going to go ahead and show you the interface in the Radiolink AT9S. Go ahead and hit the power switch and turn it on. And right away we see that we have a nice color screen here. It is multicolored and it has a variety of settings on the front here. We have a few different versions of telemetry on here. We have our RX power. We don't have it powered up right now, so you're going to see 0, but very, very nice. You see all your trim modes here, and those are set all to center. If you move them, you'll see that you have actually numbers here that give you +20, where if you go to the right, it should say negative. So that's kind of nice. And you get back to 0 here, and you'll see that they're all set to 0. Other transmitters out there on the market that I've seen, sometimes they don't give you that numerical, so that you sort of don't know whether you're in the exact center or not. And this is a really nice feature for your trim setup. Now it does show you your model up here. It shows you your radio name. It says Radiolink right there. You can actually go in and change that as well if you want to change it to your name. Whatever your FPV pilot name might be, you can change it to that. And you can also change this from mode 1 to mode 2 as well. So if you want to fly mode 2, you can do that either or. Also up at the very top you have your battery telemetry, and I have a 3S battery in there right now. It's about a 3S 850 just for the demo I'm doing for you guys. Now to get into the menus, it's very simple. You just press this mode button. This is probably one of the easiest, most intuitive transmitter setups that I've used. Way more intuitive than the Taranis Plus, if you've ever tried to operate the Taranis. Now, it took me a few minutes just to overlook all of these settings in here and get familiar with it. It only took me just a few minutes to get used to it. We can go into the parameter mode here. Whoops. So I went into the wrong screen. You press the end button to go back, okay? Now it's very sensitive, this little wheel. Press this enter button again. I'll go into the parameter settings. I can change the language, and this is where you change from mode 1 to mode 2. Very simply, just tap that and you can change. You can go all the way to mode 4. It looks like stick mode 4. So we're going to leave it in stick mode 2. RF backlight, you can change how bright it is, the brightness, and this is where you change your username as well. So right now we're just going to leave it set to Radiolink. You also have a voltage alarm on here, so it'll vibrate or give you an alarm if the battery gets low. And you have a lock screen set up. You can also turn the sound off, so if this little beeping is kind of annoying you, we can do that. And that's kind of nice. Now we have a nice quiet radio. Now I can go back and I'll go into model selection. You can change the different aircrafts that you're on, and you can also copy one model down to the next one available. I'm going to go back out of that one. Change your model type as well, and if you want to reset the parameters, you just push and hold 1 second and it resets all the parameters in there back to the defaults. So you can also change the type of aircraft. You can do gliders, you can do helis, you can also do RC cars. It says aero basic, but that would be essentially like an aerobatic plane. And you have 3 different versions of gliders in here, I believe. So I'm going to set that back to the standard aircraft and that's for my multi-rotors. I'm going to go back out of here and we'll go to endpoints. And this is nice because it's very, very easy to go in here and change your endpoints. And you can see it's a nice simple menu here, and you can see what everything is set to, 100 values and 75 on the bottoms there. Very nice. And I'll go back out of there. I'll go into sub trim, And again, very simple menus, vertically stacked and easy to get to. Just turn that dial wheel and you can make any changes there. Now we can reverse servos. We go in here, we have this stack again, very, very simple. And right here we have normal. If I want to switch the aileron direction, I press and hold, and it'll let me change from reverse to normal. So there I can reverse, and it'll ask me, am I sure? I'm just going to leave it on normal. It's going to set that to default. Now I'm going to go back out, and we'll go to dual rate and expo. Very nice, simply to change your dual rates. If you go down here, you can change your expo as well. Now motor cut, another simple menu in there. Inhibit or activate it. Trim setup, very simple. And we can go in here also and set those parameters. Auxiliary, we can change some switch setups in here. And we can add a timer as well. So if you know you have 5 minutes on a battery, for that specific model, you can change how long your beeper is set up for. So at 5 minutes it'll give you a beep, or you can do a vibration, which is kind of nice. Trainer port switch, this is the menu for that. You can go in here and set that up as well. So the dial wheel is very sensitive. I have to get kind of used to that. And you can change up your mix and your surface setup there. And now I'll go down to servo setup, and this is another way you can test your servos. If you want to get in here and move these gimbals around, you'll see the travel adjustments on your different servos that you have. Once you plug in your receiver, you'll see more info on that. And now your receiver, you can go in here, and this is where it gets interesting, folks. We have all of this information on here can be telemetry coming from your receiver and your aircraft. So you're going to get battery voltage, your current throttle, latitude, longitude, if you had GPS, your altitude in there as well, and your yaw, roll, and pitch, and distance from the transmitter. And all this is pretty cool if you have GPS, and you can change that in this setup. So that's a very, very intuitive telemetry interface that we have on here. So if you have OSD, it'll also show all your OSD parameters right on the radio. So that's very useful, especially if you have a crash and you have GPS on board. You can tell where it crashed, the last known recorded point. Now I'll go down to system settings, and we'll go in here, and this is where it also gets even more interesting as well. So we have a shutdown after 256 minutes on. You can also change the background of the screen. If you want this to change white, click that button, and you can change the whole interface to something a little brighter. I kind of like the black myself, so I'm going to leave it on black. I like that a lot. Now RSSI alarm, this is nice too, because if you lose transmission from your receiver and you lose contact with your aircraft, you can set an alarm on there and it will actually beep. So you can set that to the exact parameter, the dBm on your receiver, and that's kind of cool. So we'll go back out of here, and I'll go all the way back out, and that's pretty much the fundamentals of the menus on the Radiolink. That's the AT9S, and it's actually a fairly intuitive radio to work with. One of the easier radios that I've used, in my opinion. Okay, just to sum it up, guys, I gotta tell you that playing around with this radio, I was able to figure it out in about 5 to 10 minutes, and just going into these menus and spinning around in here, it is really simple layout in the menus, very intuitive and easy to use. When I first looked at it, I thought, oh no, here's another transmitter I'm going to have to figure out for the next like 3 months before I can do a decent review on it for you guys. But compared to my Taranis Plus, this was way easier to use and bind up for the first time. Setting up the receivers was really intuitive, especially with this little bind button on the side. I don't have to fight with it. With my Taranis, sometimes when I go to bind it up, press and hold the switch and then power up a battery, and then I have to wait for it to flash green. Sometimes it binds and sometimes it doesn't, which drives me a little bit crazy, but sometimes I'm probably doing the process wrong. But the nice thing about this one is you turn on the radio, you power up your receiver, and you press this, and hold it, and it automatically finds it, which is really, really nice. So this status light will change to red once it's bound up, and blue if it's SBUS. You press this button again to change it into SBUS. So and like I said, they do have a variety of different receivers available for the AT9S and the AT9, and they're all competitively priced. I mean, $12 to $15 for a receiver is not bad, and there's plenty of range with these, so you don't suffer any range loss using the Radiolink receivers. And the nice thing is you don't have to have any bind plugs in here, or press it down and hold it while you're trying to plug in the battery at the same time on your quadcopter. So this is going to be a lot easier to bind up your receivers. The radio interface itself is all color screen, and I can change a variety of things in there. I feel like most of it is really customizable to change it to the way I want it. So this is a very optimal radio for me to use. I think this is going to be something that I'm probably going to use myself and link up with some of my other aircraft. I might actually hook this up to one of my wings that I have sitting there waiting for a receiver. So I'm going to do some testing with that coming up this winter. So thanks again for watching this review, guys. I hope that it showed you some of the features of the AT9S, and hopefully how much better it is than the original AT9. So I'm Justin Davis from Drone Camps. Thanks again for watching us and joining us on the channel. Please do subscribe for more RC videos. I'll see you on the next one.